What house never locks its doors because it wants you inside? It waits in the heart of America, a monument to an unspeakable crime, its windows pulsing with a weak, dying light under a diseased crimson moon. This is Villisca, Iowa, June 10th, 1912. A date carved deep into a rotting beam. A night when the gas lamps on the porch choked on a mist of blood, and the stairs dripped with a gore that would never wash away. Inside, the hands of a grandfather clock melt into black blood at the stroke of midnight. Frost on the window pane screams the date. In the attic, a silhouette waits, the ember of a cigarette glowing in the dark, as an axe blade reflects the terrified eye of a sleeping child. They never woke up, except for one. This is not a ghost story. This is courtroom proof. This is 100% real. Newspapers from 1912 curl with wet blood, their headlines screaming of 8 axe-mangled bodies, their faces obliterated beyond recognition. Official stamps are smothered in crimson, and a wax seal on the case file drips like a fresh wound, bearing 2 words that echo through a century of silence: unsolved. Still waiting. The family's last meal was a portrait of warmth and life. Amber light filled the dining room as children's laughter echoed against the walls. And then, in an instant, the light was snuffed out. The laughter was cut short, replaced by a gurgling choke as a shadow crawled up the wall like a black cancer. They ate. Then they died. It was the Moore family's last supper. Josiah, the patriarch, his hands ripping at his hat after a long day. Sarah, his wife, their 4 children, their silhouettes dancing on the walls in the lamplight. A perfect family, which made them the perfect target. Even as they sat down to eat, the shadow of an axe was already slicing across the ceiling above them, unseen. That evening, after a church program, 2 young guests walked home with the Moores.
12-year-old Lena and 8-year-old Ina Stillinger, holding hands under gas lamps that flickered like the last heartbeats of a dying town. They were having a sleepover. It would last forever. While the house slept, he watched. From the attic, peering through a knothole in the floorboards, his view fixed on the sleeping children below. Cigarette butts glowed and died in the hay beside him. His breath was slow, patient, hungry. He watched them sleep. And then he began. The master bedroom was first. Josiah and Sarah Moore, asleep in their bed. The blunt end of the axe crashed down, and a skull exploded inward. The ceiling above the bed was gouged deep from a triumphant, powerful swing. They were the first to die, but they would be the last to be finished. The killer's focus on Josiah was a frenzy of unparalleled violence. His face was pulped beyond any human recognition, his eyes gouged out completely. More than 30 blows turned his head into a crimson crater, so much blood that it filled a shoe left beside the bed. His eyes were gone forever. Sarah's death was different. Amid the blunt force carnage, the killer used the sharp blade of the axe to slice her neck. It was a precise, clean cut, a stark contrast to the obliteration of the others. Arterial spray painted roses across her nightgown. But the killer's work wasn't done. He would return to her body later, for further mutilation, ruining the only moment of precision in his horrific masterpiece. Upstairs, the slaughter of the children began. In one room, 11-year-old Herman and 7-year-old Boyd had their heads shattered like eggs. Their brains splattered across the shared pillow as the blunt end of the axe crushed their innocence. A crimson lake spread across the bedsheets. In the center of the next room, 10-year-old Catherine and 5-year-old Paul were found, their faces also pulped and unrecognizable. The floor was an ankle-deep soup of blood, and in its reflection, the mutilated faces of 8 people stared back, endless and silent. The town's innocence was shattered. The crime scene was immediately contaminated as hundreds of townsfolk trampled through the house, handling the murder weapon and even stealing fragments of skulls as souvenirs. The horror spread from the house into the heart of the community, carried on crimson boot prints that led nowhere. Suspicion fell like a shroud. There was Frank Jones, a prominent state senator and business rival of Josiah's, who sweated under questioning. There was Reverend Lynn George Kelly, a traveling preacher with a history of mental illness, who confessed and then recanted. And there were whispers of a drifter, a transient serial killer whose eyes glowed with madness. Who was it? A man or something else? Despite multiple trials and decades of investigation, there was no justice. The courtroom smoke cleared, the headlines faded, and the killer, a laughing silhouette in the Iowa mist, was never found. He is still hunting. Today, the house in Villisca still stands. It inhales frost on cold nights. Visitors report seeing children's handprints glowing on the walls and feel the very structure pulse like living skin. It still lives. Modern paranormal investigators have captured electronic voice phenomena inside, the clear sound of an axe swinging, followed by a child's scream. On security cameras, shadows are seen climbing the stairs, alone. They still cry. The killer's shadow is said to pace the blood-stained corridors in an infinite loop, his axe still dripping with phantom gore. He never left. Now, look closely. The nightmare is no longer contained to a house in Iowa. It's here. Subscribe, if you dare. The theories are endless. Was it Jones? Kelly? A ghost? Like this video and comment with your suspect before he finds you. The shadows of the 8 victims are rising.
Their ruined faces are pointing straight at your camera. Their eyes are missing. Your door is unlocked tonight. Wait for more stories.